Hey, it's Missy Jackson with the Vantage Group, and I'm back to continue that conversation we started a few weeks ago. If you remember, I threw out a really specific challenge to you and asked you to pay attention and listen for signal phrases like I think, I feel, it seems, or some other form closely related. And why was that? It's because when you hear a statement like that, you can almost guarantee that a subjective piece of information is going to follow quickly behind. And when subjectivity is creeping in and influencing decisions, whether it be about your business, about an individual, or a team as a whole, it's risky. So how did you do? Was it you? Was it a colleague? And did a subjective statement follow quickly behind? And what type of risk might you or your business been opened up to because of that? Becoming aware of subjectivity and how it's influencing decisions in your business is just the first step. Knowing what to do and how to hold it in check is the second step. As you remember, though, I promised you there are things you can do, some really quick and easy, and others take a little bit more time, but you can implement things across your business to help counter and hold in check subjectivity. Today I'm going to talk about the human dynamic side, the people, individuals or teams, and we'll cover the business side on another video. So let's play it out. Someone comes to you and says, I think this about one of your team members' performance. Or they're saying, I feel this about the effectiveness of this particular team. Well, there's a couple quick phrases or questions, perhaps, that you can have in your back pocket to pull out and change that conversation quickly from subjective to objective. I know it sounds too good to be true, but there's a pretty quick little trick. If someone says, I think this, follow it up with, interesting, what tells you, insert the statement, or what led you to that conclusion about this particular team. You immediately are inviting in an objective perspective of how are you substantiating that? What are the facts around this? So again, real quick, have those phrases in your back pocket. Another aspect is around accountability and process. A lot of leaders are afraid of putting standardized process in place because they feel like it's handcuffs. Well, being able to hold your team members accountable to something, being able to say they've performed or not performed, that they are hitting the mark or not hitting the mark, is almost always going to be subjective if there aren't processes and metrics that are put in place. And the reality is that process is really about creating stability and a pathway to growth and continuous improvement and accountability to such, versus it being about just trying to catch somebody. It really protects you, it protects the individuals who are implementing the process, and it gives you really important insight and visibility into what's happening across your organization. So think about, where can you strengthen up or tighten up processes in the organization? Maybe it's around definitions, how you define different steps that are taken. And is it well defined? Can you and someone else implement that step and come to the same conclusion? Or is there room for a different interpretation? Again, when there is room for those different interpretations or a different way of doing the work that's not well defined, you're going to have subjectivity on whether or not it's done well or not done well. So process. Think about process. The last component that I would throw out there is about how well you know people. Oftentimes we're struggling with, do we have the right person in the right seat? And again, it might be closely tied to how you're measuring somebody and accountability and all of that. But the reason I ask you, how well do you know your people, is because we're all uniquely wired. And how to get to high performance or to enable high performance in somebody looks different depending on how they're wired. We all have different behavior styles. We have different drivers and motivators. We have different competencies that we bring to the table today in other areas where we may need to develop them intentionally. We have different ways of thinking about our approach to problem solving and systems judgment and practical thinking, all of those different aspects. And so this is where enter in an objective perspective about your people and understanding them is through the world of assessments. And again, I know, similar to process, people have really strong feelings about assessments. But where I caution you is not all assessments are created equal, and people are complex. So you got to be careful that you don't just do one type of perhaps just a disc, which is around a behavior style, and think that that gives you all of the information you need to know objectively about your people. Now, yeah, it's an investment to spend the money to be able to get these different perspectives on people, but it's the only way to get to that objective understanding around how they thrive. How are they uniquely wired? And have you done what you can as a leader to be able to help enable that? So, comprehensive suite of tools is really the best way to go in using that to understand, how do I effectively communicate with this person, and how do I not communicate with this person? How might I need to incent or motivate this person, and how might I not? Again, we're complex. We're not all wired the same. And so caution yourself to not make assumptions about someone and their how and their why until we have that objective understanding about who they are. So in summary, when we're talking about teams, we're talking about individuals, and we're trying to hold in check subjective information or subjective intel. The three things that you need to be thinking about: what are those quick phrases or questions you can follow up a subjective statement with of, like I said, what tells you this, or what has led you to that conclusion? Quick, easy little phrases. Think about where you can standardize and implement process and definitions to remove a subjective way of looking at things, and recognizing that process doesn't equate handcuffs or eliminating creativity. And third, how well do you understand your people, and are you using an objective assessment to be able to understand the unique complexities of each of your team members? I'd love to talk with you more about this, and as you can see, it's an area I care about deeply, whether it's process or people as a whole. So if you want more information on what this might look like for you and your business or your team, reach out and we can talk about it. Otherwise, I'll catch you back here in a few more weeks, and we'll talk about the business side and what does it look like to hold subjective information or insights in check around your business. Thanks for tuning in and listening. I look forward to talking to you again on another beautiful day. Bye-bye.